Welcome to the Pitch Your Pick podcast, the podcast where we dive deep into all the sports books, find our favorite plays, and pitch them to each other to find the best plays every day. Today is February 24th of 2022. I'm Joe. This is Jer. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. The bets went better last night. We got the NBA back tonight, which means we're probably going to disagree on something later. We only got 2 more days till the weekend. I love my picks for today, but that probably means they both lose.
Yeah, every time you're confident about it, it's chalk. So we'll just because he mentioned it, we'll check out yesterday's picks real quick. So our yesterday's performance, that Rutgers money line versus Michigan didn't go so hot. Michigan just controlled that entire game. The Sabres versus the Canadiens. It was a very close one, but ended up being an L there. Avalanche versus the Red Wings, though, definitely got over those 6 goals, so that's a check off for Jer. And the Providence versus Xavier game going into triple overtime, but they clutched out covering that spread. So a 2-2 performance for us yesterday. Not too bad. We redeemed ourselves a little bit from that terrible showing on the 23rd. So you love to see that. Anyway, we can switch it back to the 2 webcams, or actually the 1 shared screen, and we can check out just our slate of games for today real quick and make sure that is all looking good. So for the NBA, like we said, finally back. We have a lot of stuff. Cavs, Pistons, Celtics next, Hawks, Bulls, Grizzlies, Timberwolves, Suns, Thunder, Warriors, Trailblazers, Nuggets, Kings. Just glad to have the NBA back. I would honestly watch as many games as you can. It's going to be a fun one. We'll probably be talking about a few of these a bit later. For the NHL, I know he said he's got a few things that he's interested in here.
Yeah, half the teams in the NHL are in action tonight. We got 8 games. Most notably, the Leafs will be looking to snap their 3-game losing streak against one of the most profitable teams in the NHL, in the Minnesota Wild. That should be an interesting matchup. The Washington Capitals are on the road against the New York Rangers. These are 2 of the most profitable teams in the respective situations. The Capitals are the most profitable team on the road, and the Rangers are one of the most profitable at home. The Calgary Flames will be looking to extend their win streak to 11 games versus a red-hot Vancouver Canucks team at home. And the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Florida Panthers, which we'll get into more shortly.
All right, and then switching it over to college basketball, we have actually an all-right slate of games for this Thursday night. Number 1 overall team, Gonzaga, is going against San Francisco. Great top 25 matchup between Ohio State and Illinois. Murray State's clocking it against Belmont. We got UCLA and Oregon. Arizona versus Utah, USC versus Oregon State, and there's actually a pretty decent slate if you're just looking at overall Division I teams. A lot of teams are playing tonight in college basketball, so go ahead, check out some of those games. It's probably going to be, we got a sport-filled Thursday afternoon, I will say. It's going to be a fun night, I will say. So we can switch it over to our 2 webcams here, and Jared can start off pitching his first pick. We don't know what it is. Usually it's NHL, but with the NBA back, we never know what the first one's going to be now. Basketball, we have a pretty decent slate of games for this Thursday night. Gonzaga, San Francisco. Going to be interesting seeing that number 1 overall Gonzaga seed with Chet Holmgren. He is a beast in this game. Going to be awesome to see. We got Ohio State and Illinois, 2 top 25 matchups. Murray State is clocking it in. They're keeping strong in their top 25. Also 26-2 overall this season. Murray State is looking amazing. UCLA and Oregon, St. Mary's versus San Diego. Utah is playing against Arizona, the number 2 overall seed, and USC versus Oregon State. And we also have a bunch of great just overall Division Ones that aren't top 25 teams that are going ahead and playing tonight. So it's going to be awesome to see, including one of my favorite teams to watch because they are a hot 3-23 IUPUI. I just love tuning into these games to see how much they get beat. No offense to the IUPUI players, but it's usually a 20-point blowout. It's just fun to watch those games. Anyway, I'm going to be starting off the picks today because I actually have 3 to clock in, and we'll be starting it off in the NBA for my picks. And I'm going to start it off very, very safe. I've been going hot, trying to pick up some underdogs, and it really hasn't been working for me. So we are going to start it off with the Celtics versus the Nets. And this one is as straightforward as it comes. Now, it's slowly becoming more and more in favor of the Celtics. I got it this morning at -7, but Boston currently is at -8. I think this one is as straightforward as it comes. If you check out the Nets, their injuries list is just getting long. Ben Simmons has said he's picking up with his training, but probably won't come until maybe next week at the earliest. Kevin Durant is currently still out with his knee injury, and Kyrie Irving can't play home games, and they're playing in Brooklyn. So the big 3 that are going to be doing most of the scoring aren't going to be playing. Their new pickup, Goran Dragic, still is going throughout conditioning to make sure that he's ready for these next games, so he'll be playing tonight. and they're still without Joe Harris, who may be getting a second shoulder surgery, which is interesting. So that leaves Seth Curry, Patty Mills, LaMarcus Aldridge really to carry it. And if you stack that up against the second best scoring defense in the league with the Boston Celtics, I just really don't think that this is a game that the Nets can even stay competitive in, honestly, and let alone not avoid a 20-point blowout. Because if you check out the last game, this was a game that the Boston Celtics just ran away with, the last one that they played against the Celtics. This one was without Seth Curry before the trade, but I really don't think he's going to make that much of a difference in this. I mean, it was 126-91, just an absolute blowout. And this is also the game where it started out 28-2 in favor of the Celtics. The Nets,
I remember that.
It was an awful game for the Brooklyn Nets. It just wasn't a dub there.
That.
Yeah, the Nets are currently 0-5-2 at the spread in their last 7 following a loss, and they've currently lost 12 of their last 14. They are also 0-4-1 at the spread following a loss of more than 10, and they lost by 14 against the Wizards with Kyrie. It's just not looking great considering the Celtics are 5-1 at the spread as a road favorite in their last 6 games. So obviously with this long break, Boston could come in sluggish, but I think that just means that Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum have a lot of rest. Are just going to come out here and mop the floor with the Brooklyn Nets. I have them at 7. I think that is great. And honestly, I would be surprised if the Celtics don't win it by 10 or more tonight. It's just all the cards have aligned for the Nets to have a terrible showing and to lose their 13th out of their last 15 games. Personally, I think this one's as clear as they come.
Before the show, when we were talking about what game you were picking, I was right in picking this game.
There you go.
And I figured you'd be on the Celtics. It is straightforward. The list of injuries is just too long for the Nets. The thing that's interesting to me is you'd think while Ben Simmons was holding out, he would have been working on his conditioning and his being able to be game ready for when he did get traded.
Exactly.
But I find it kind of concerning that he came to the Nets in horrible shape. Like, it's not really a point to the game. It just seems like the Net, like, he might just be disengaged from basketball if you think like there were some reports
saying that he was calling KD and was super happy to be with it. So I think that it was just, he was so unhappy with the Sixers that he was just unmotivated to play basketball. That's what I'm taking it as. So he just wasn't really with it. Now he's got a new team. He's rejuvenated. He's trying to play it with it. So I'm going to take it as that. Give Ben Simmons the benefit of the doubt because it seems like, at least in Philly, it was a really toxic situation. So hopeful for this Nets team, but at least as far as it goes tonight, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, tonight is not going to be good, I don't think. I see a bunch of the money is actually on the Nets, which is kind of surprising, but
people love the underdog.
And when that happens and the spread goes towards the other team, there's usually a problem. So the books are telling you something. I like that pick, actually. I would be on the Celtics -8 as well.
All right, what do you got in for your first pick? You keep it in the NBA, we switching over to that NHL.
We're staying in the NBA, and we're not betting the same game today, actually, luckily. I'm going to be looking at this Atlanta Hawks Chicago Bulls game, and I'm going to be picking the Bulls to win this one by they're favored by -3.5, and I'm going to lay the 3.5 points.
I like that.
The Bulls are 36-23 to the spread, the second most profitable team in the NBA. On the other side, the Hawks are the 10th least profitable team to the spread this year. They're 26-32, and that puts them right in line with the crappy Los Angeles Lakers, who are 26-31. The Hawks will be on the road tonight in Chicago, and away from home this season, the Hawks have just been straight up bad against the spread. They're 10-18 and the third least most profitable team on the road against the spread. And on the other side, the Chicago has been a house of horrors for opposing teams this season. They're the best team against the spread in the NBA at home, with a record of 21-10 against the spread. Coming off another All-Star game, I think the player we need to talk about in this matchup is Demar Derozan. Demar has scored 30-plus points in 9 of his last 10 home games, and he's also scored 35-plus in 7 straight home games. The Hawks will be without John Collins tonight, who is doubtful to play with a foot injury. And without Collins, I don't really think this Atlanta team has an answer for DeMar. In Collins' absence, the Hawks have been starting Danilo Gallinari at power forward. which isn't going to defend DeMar, which likely means that DeMar will draw a matchup against DeAndre Hunter for most of the night, who ranks 360th in defensive win shares. The Hawks also give up the most points per game to opposing shooting guards. And I really shouldn't need to introduce the Bulls' second All-Star, Zach Levine, who happens to be playing shooting guard for the Bulls. Levine is averaging 22.6 points per game at home this season, and in the only matchup he played against the Bulls this season, he scored 25 points. As I mentioned, these two teams have already played twice this season. Chicago has won and covered the spread in both games. In the first matchup, Chicago was favored by -3.5. They won by 12. In the second matchup, Chicago was 7.5 point favorites. They won that game by 14. A couple trends for the Hawks that don't look great. The Hawks are 1-10 against the spread in their last 11 road games versus a team with a winning percentage greater than 60%. The Hawks are 1-6 in their last 7 road games versus a team with a winning record. And the Hawks are 3-16 against the spread versus a team with a winning percentage higher than 60%. The Bulls have covered the spread in 7 of their last 10 games here. I just think this is a bad matchup for the Hawks. I'm going to lay the 3.5 points with the Bulls here at home to get it done.
Yeah, I like that. I was looking at this game earlier more so for, how DeMar was going to, or Levine were going to absolutely piece the Hawks because they had great games against him. But I completely agree that I think the Bulls are taking this one handedly because the Hawks have really kind of struggled without John Collins, and they're actually a worse defensive team without John Collins. I was surprised. I didn't think he was that pivotal to their defense, but they really struggle to lock it down without him in there at that, starting position, which is even better for the Hawks.
Yeah, I think his size purely just plays a big factor on defense, and I think that would have caused DeMar some issues because DeMar has been, we know him as a traditional 2-3 guard, but Chicago typically plays pretty small, and he's been playing the power forward for them. So I wouldn't have liked this matchup as much if Collins was playing and guarding DeMar, but I think without that size on DeMar, they're going to have a tough time keeping DeMar from the basket with Vucevic pulling Capella away from the rim all night.
Yeah, it's I like it. It's looking pretty solid for the Bulls to take this one. So for my next pick, we're keeping it in the NBA. So actually, all of my picks are in the NBA. We're leaving college basketball. I've been too much into college basketball lately. I'm trying to get back in the NBA. I'm excited for it to be back, and I have one that I was really back and forth on, but I decided to send it. And this one is going to be covering Jarrett Allen. Now, this is an interesting game, and I usually don't, like to bet on Jarrett Allen, but he's coming from the All-Star game. My man was hooping with Garland and Mobley, and I don't know, I loved seeing it. So for Jarrett Allen here, we're actually going to be picking the over on his points and rebounds because they're playing the Pistons, and Garland is actually not playing. He has some lower back soreness and won't be playing, as well as Karis LeVert. He's dealing with some sort of foot injury, so he also won't be playing. So that's 2 really high-quality scorers for the Cavs that just won't be playing tonight. So it's really going on to Jarrett Allen and Mobley to pick up that extra scoring. In those games that they've played against Detroit with Darius Garland, he's still averaging 13 points and 8 rebounds, which is solid. And even in overall games, he's averaging a crazy 16 and 11. Jarrett Allen's actually been hooping this season without Darius Garland throughout all those games without him. I think it's only 9, actually. He's 17.1 points, 11.6 rebounds, but his last 5 without Garland, he has been on a tear, 18.6 points and 13.4 rebounds. Jarrett Allen has been a beast inside, including a crazy 29-point, 22 rebound performance against the Charlotte Hornets. This guy is just going federal when you look at his points and rebounds total. Really only had a struggling performance against Philly and Atlanta, which is kind of expected going against some of those guys. But if you actually look at the rebounding percentages or just numbers for these two teams, the Detroit Pistons are actually the worst team in rebounding percentage right now, whereas the Cavs are top 5, including the 9th best offensive rebounding team, period, which is crazy considering it's Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley majority actually getting these offensive rebounds. Jarrett Allen's just been playing great this season. I like this dude to just go out there and hoop. And if you just look at the numbers of how he plays when Darius Garland in there, he just steps up, he hoops it for him. And I think he's especially going to be playing well after just coming off a great All-Star game, having a lot of rest, and just going in there, because I honestly don't see this Cavs team doing too crazy against the Pistons without a big game from Allen. And it does help that the Pistons center and Isaiah Stewart can get foul prone. If it goes on, there's been a lot of games where he just rarely plays because he's in such foul trouble. And the line at the center for the Pistons is very thin. You put some shorter guys against Jarrett Allen, he is going to eat on those boards, which is awesome. The main problem that I will see arising in this is if Mobley decides to just absolutely go on a tear, go off. But in the games without Darius Garland, Mobley is only averaging 11.6 points and 6 rebounds. So majority of the scoring has actually been going to Jarrett Allen and Kevin Love in those games without Darius Garland, which is pretty interesting. But I like this one for Jarrett Allen overall. He's looking like he's hooping in those games without Garland. He's looking insanely good. So I'm going to have to go with him because, I mean, come on. How can you hate on a man who's averaging 18 and 13 in games without their starting PG? It's just looking good.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that. I'm looking at no free shoutouts, props.cash. With this points and rebounds total set at 26.5, he's covered in his last 3 games without Darius Garland playing. He's had a combined 36, 32, and 51 points and rebounds in his last 3 games without Garland. He's covered at 56% of the games without Garland this season. I really like that bet as well. I'd follow that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just come on, 22 rebounds, 29, and then follow that up with 17 and 15, then 14 and 15, 14 and 22. Yeah. Honestly, if Detroit doesn't make it a purpose to keep him off the boards, Jarrett Allen is going to have a field day inside.
Yeah, just taking folks' lunch money inside.
All right. And I'm assuming this next one is going to be your NHL pick, or we're switching it over.
Yeah, we're switching over to the NHL. And we're going to be looking at the Columbus Blue Jackets playing on the road at the Florida Panthers tonight. So we're going to look at this over shots on goal market. Again, same market from yesterday. Bet last night just needed 2 shots to cash. We got 61 when we needed 63. I watched the game. There was a couple pucks that slid right through the crease, a couple wraparounds that went right through the crease. A couple of those hit the goalie's pads, and we cashed that bet. So I'm going to go back to it tonight. And in the total in this Columbus and Florida game is actually set at 67.5, which sounds a lot higher compared to yesterday's 62.5 shot total that I was betting over on. And I thought the same thing till I saw these numbers. So the Panthers and the Blue Jackets have played twice this season already, and the total has gone way over twice. The first matchup saw 76 total shots, and the second matchup saw 81 combined between these two teams. Dating back to April of 2020, so these teams played in the playoffs last year, so we have a decent amount of data to go off of. This total has gone 4 and 2 to the over, and the 2 times that it missed, these two teams combined for 67 shots. So it was right there. It needed one more shot to go over twice. The Florida Panthers take the most shots in the NHL, and the Columbus Blue Jackets actually allow the most shots in the NHL. However, the Panthers also rank 19th in shots against, and the Blue Jackets have been playing fairly well offensively recently. The Blue Jackets have covered their team total in 3 straight games and have had 30-plus shots on goal in 7 of their last 10 games. And Florida's last 2 home games, they've had 48 and 50 shots on goal and are averaging 39.41 shots per game at home this season. So if we just get 40, the average 40 out of Florida and 30 out of the Blue Jackets, this total is going over, which I think is very likely. The Blue Jackets are 8-1-1 to the over in their last 10 games. The Panthers are 8-2 to the over in their last 10 games. The total opened up 7 in this game, which is crazy, but it's also not surprising considering the matchup. But it is a little too high for my taste. But I do know that if this total is going to go over, there's going to have to be a lot of shots on goal. The Panthers are 18-8 to the over in games with a total set higher than 6. The Blue Jackets are 11-4 to the over in games with a total set higher than 6. I think there's good push potential here at 7. However, I do think the safer play is just to bet the shots on goal. These teams put the puck towards the net. Specifically the Panthers, they put it towards the net like nobody else in the NHL. They average far more shots than anyone else in the league. And they certainly give up enough scoring chances to let the Blue Jackets get their fair share of shots tonight. I really like this spot, even though the total's high. So I'm gonna lay over on 67.5 total shots for these two teams.
I mean, even if you just look at those past two performances, I mean, you got 76 and 81. Yeah. I mean, they already have a history.
That's flying over.
Those are also in blowouts as well. If it's a closer contested one, you could see it a little bit better.
I guess something else to note too is that I didn't put in here which we bet on last time for the Florida Panthers to win in regulation. We do know that they lost at home. That was their first home loss since December 16th. They had won 9 games in a row before, so I'm going to assume they're coming out at home here looking to get some revenge. They're going to be playing angry against one of the worst teams in the NHL.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. And I guess it's only fitting that I bring it back to the NBA one last time, continue it because I'm excited, and I'm bringing it to one that should be an absolute shootout, a battle of the offenses. We're running and gunning and we're going crazy for it, and that's between the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves. These two teams play at an absurd pace. Like we have, I think the Timberwolves are currently 3rd in total pace, which is just unreal. And the Grizzlies play at the 8th fastest pace, but in games with Ja Morant, they actually play at the 5th fastest pace. And Ja Morant is actually averaging, I think, almost 17 points per game in the paint as a 6'3" guard. This man loves to sprint and head right to the hoop, which is awesome. But I'm actually not taking anything on Ja Morant. I'm taking one that I normally wouldn't with D'Angelo Russell. I'm pivoting it over to him for his points, rebounds, and assists. D'Angelo Russell has hooped against the Grizzlies. I mean, hooped. This guy has pretty good averages this season of 18.8 and 3.5. But if we just check out his previous games against Memphis, 29, 6, and 3 in that one. And other one down here, 28, 5, and 4. D'Angelo Russell just knows what he's doing. And the last game against Memphis, 30 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. Now, his line currently is set at 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And if we just look at the past 3 performances against Memphis, he cleared all of those every single time, which is awesome. And if you're looking at the fact that these guys are going to run and gun and there's not a lot of defense, it's looking pretty good. If you look at the Grizzlies guard defense, it's really nothing crazy. I mean, they're, I think, the 18th or 19th best guard defense in the league, which obviously isn't crazy. They're definitely better defensively when it comes to their big men. No offense to Ja Morant. He's a great offensive player, but he's really not locking anybody up. That's just kind of how it goes. Now, the thing that may be a bit concerning is that Cat and Anthony Edwards are both going to be playing in this game, but in the previous 3 games against Memphis, they were also playing. So I don't really think it's too crazy to assume, especially because I just said the Memphis Grizzlies are a lot better defensively when it comes to big men. So they should be trying to focus on Cat, and that should open up opportunities for D'Lo to get a little bit more open on those, which is pretty nice for them. Now, the Grizzlies currently allow the 8th most points, rebounds, and assists to guards this season, including their previous game where they went against the Trailblazers. They actually let a crazy Anthony Simons go off for an absurd, I think, 31 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. Anthony Simons was hooping, although he's been having a good season. So if we just look at what the Grizzlies have been doing, they've been letting the guards for the other teams go crazy and just hoping they can lock up the other guys out there, which is obviously looking great for D'Angelo Russell. The concern also comes for D'Lo when they get blown out or they blow other teams out. He rarely gets to his overs at all. You really have to hope that the game stays relatively competitive and that D'Lo can really get his shot going from beyond the 3-point arc, because obviously he's a shot creator. He really wants to get those threes. Luckily, in all of the games against Memphis, he's at least 4 3-point buckets, and actually in 2 of them, he's had 6 and has shot absolutely crazy, so it should be good. And this game only has the Grizzlies as 2.5-point favorites. So if we're just looking at that, it should be a pretty close contested game. It's almost guaranteed that if D'Lo gets over 30 minutes, that he can hit his over. But if he's playing below that 30 minutes, it's really wishy-washy on whether or not he's going to get it. So I do like this, seeing it as both of these teams are fighting to get better in their playoff spots. I think the Timberwolves are currently around the 6-7 spot, and they want to move up a little bit to have a bit of a better matchup going into the playoffs. And the Grizzlies, I think, are either second or third in the West and are trying to push to get, again, a better seed in the playoffs, save an easier first round matchup. So both these guys are really ready to go. And with how running gun this is, I'm expecting a lot of assists, a lot of breaks, and D'Lo can pick up a few of those and get those buckets. So I like this game. I think it's also going to be a fun one to watch. Who doesn't love two crazy fast teams just gunning it out at each other?
Yeah, looking at D'Lo's numbers here, I actually have another quick pitch, I guess I could say, off of a D'Lo prop. I like that points, rebounds, and assists, but I will something to note that you are talking about is that he does hoop against the Memphis Grizzlies. But it really should be noted that over his last 6 games against the Memphis Grizzlies, to a total of 30.5 points and rebounds. In each game, he has 42, 37, 38, 42, 37, 38. He is well clearing this total against the Grizzlies this year. But the thing I also wanted to pitch to you, and it could be an interesting ladder play for you people that like to do the same game parlays on FanDuel. D'Angelo Russell shoots the lights out against the Grizzlies.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 6 matchups, he's covered his 3-point made total by more than 1. So his total's usually set at 2.5. In his last 6 matchups, he's made 6, 4, 6, 6, 4, 6 threes per game. The juice on the 2.5 is a little bit squirrely, but you can get 3.5 at plus 174, or over 4.5 at plus 380. I think it would be worth a shot to take a long shot on D'Lo to make some threes tonight as well.
Yeah, and the crazy part about it is I was actually looking at the 3-point statistics. It's that the Grizzlies are actually a relatively good 3-point defensive team. They hold teams to lower, 3-point percentages. They don't allow as many. D'Lo just says, yeah, screw that, and chucks it against the Grizzlies, and they just happen to fall. This season, he's actually shooting 49% against the Grizzlies through his 3 games. This guy just knows how to pick apart their defense.
He likes that matchup. That's very obvious.
Yeah, he loves it.
Very obvious. I'm just looking here. Yeah, Memphis ranks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Memphis gives up the 7th most points to opposing shooting guards and actually allows just 1 second here, about the 8th most threes as well. They do limit the 3-point shooting percentage, but it just seems like opponents get up a ton of shots against them. That just must be purely due to the pace that these two teams play at.
I mean, yeah, you got to think if you're playing that fast, there's got to be a lot of open, fast break 3-point opportunities. And we all know how D'Angelo Russell plays. He gets that board, he'll run down it, and he will chuck that with no hesitation if he gets any space on that fast break.
Yeah, well, I think it also could be noted, too, that this total is set at 239.5. That's absurd. Like, they're basically saying this game's 120 to 120, and that's baseline. That's hilarious.
They are expecting scoring.
The next closest spread we see to that is the Hawks and the Bulls, which, okay, fair enough. That one was set at 237.5, but the next closest after that is Golden State and Portland at 223. So
no, that's actually, I think it's the Nuggets and the Kings. They're at 233.
Oh yeah, that's at the bottom. Okay, yeah, the Nuggets and the Kings way down at the bottom.
That's because both the Kings are having no defense.
239.5 is just absurd.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta look at it. 3rd fastest pace, 5th fastest pace. It's gonna be a fun game. So,
yeah.
I think we've had a good talk. Look, there's a lot of really good opportunities tonight. We're just covering our favorites. I mean, there's still a bunch of NBA games that we haven't covered. There's a bunch of NHL games that have been covered, and we didn't even touch the NCAA tonight. And there's a bunch of great opportunities in there. So get out there, make your bets, make some money out there. We're quickly going to cover over our picks for the day, and then we'll see you in the next one after that. All right, so here's our wrap up for today's picks. The Boston Celtics -7 versus the Nets at a -110. Panthers versus the Blue Jackets over 67.5 shots at -118. Bulls at -3.5 versus the Hawks at a -106. Jarrett Allen over 26.5 points and rebounds at -111. And D'Angelo Russell over 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists at a -104. You could also check out D'Angelo Russell's 3-point shots overs if you want to. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy this podcast. If you did, if you're on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, and all that wonderful stuff. Check out all of our socials. If you're on any podcast platforms, make sure you leave a review. Give us that wonderful 5 stars. And make sure you go out there and make some money. We'll see you in the next video tomorrow.